Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Inshallah, today we will look at some verses from the 13th juz of the Quran. As I mentioned yesterday, Surah Yusuf, half of Surah Yusuf comes in the 12th juz, and the rest of Surah Yusuf comes in the 13th juz. So Surah Yusuf continues into the 13th juz. Therefore, we will look at some of the verses from Surah Yusuf. Yesterday, I briefly summarized the story of Yusuf alayhi salam that comes in the 12th juz. And where we left off was that Yusuf alayhi salam, after the wife of the Aziz, the wife of the minister, in whose home he was raised, after she tried to seduce him and she was caught, and the women of the town started to speak about that and they started to spread rumors, then she devised a plot in order for them to realize how beautiful and how handsome Yusuf alayhi salam was. And we described the situation, the story that took place, how they were cutting the fruits, and when Yusuf alayhi salam walked past them, they started to cut their hands. At this point, the wife of the Aziz was very bold, and she garnered a lot of strength and the courage to force Yusuf alayhi salam to commit haram. So what she did was that she said, وَلَئِن لَّمْ يَفْعَلْ مَا آمُرُهُ لَيُسْجَنَنَّ أَوْ لَيُسْجَنَنَّ وَلَيَكُونَ مِنَ الصَّاغِرِينَ. She said that if he doesn't do what I'm commanding him to do, meaning if he does not do haram with me, like I am forcing him to do so, if he does not comply, then he will be imprisoned and he will be among those who are belittled, right? So she's giving him an ultimatum. Either you do what I'm asking you to do, you commit haram with me, or I will imprison you. And she is the wife of the Aziz, right? She's one of the top, the individuals with the most power in society. She can easily imprison him, and that would not be difficult for her. So what did Yusuf alayhi salam do? Did Yusuf alayhi salam succumb to the pressure that he was put under? No. Rather, he said, Rabbi sijnu ahabbu ilayya mimma yad'unani ilay. He said that, oh my Lord, prison is more beloved to me than what they are calling me towards. What the women of the town, the wife of the Aziz, and the other women who are now in with her on this in this plot, they realize how handsome he was, and they realize that she's not really to blame because of how handsome he is. Even they were attracted to him. So Yusuf alayhi salam said that, oh my Lord, prison is more beloved to me than what they are calling me towards. SubhanAllah, look at this. He is a prophet of Allah, right? And we can imagine how much taqwa he had. That when he was being called to commit haram, and he was given the ultimatum that either you commit haram or you go to jail, he chose jail, he chose prison. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ أَصْبُ إِلَيْهِنَّ وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الْجَاهِلِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next verse says, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ. So Allah ta'ala accepted his dua. فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنَّ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Then what ended up happening is that he went to the prison. In the prison, the people of the prison realized how amazing Yusuf alayhi salam was. He was different from the rest of the prisoners. He was helping the people who are in need. He was giving da'wah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the people recognized that Yusuf alayhi salam was a special individual. So two people had dreams, and they decided to come to Yusuf alayhi salam to ask him the interpretation of their dreams. And Yusuf alayhi salam interpreted the dreams for them. And this is a very lengthy, Surah Yusuf in general, it is a lengthy surah, and I am not able to go into the detail or the translation of every single ayah, but I will just try to summarize, right? So there is detail that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about what happened in the prison when the people came to him to seek the interpretation. He didn't give it right away, but we will skip over this inshallah just to look at some of the main points. So Yusuf alayhi salam interpreted the dreams for these two prisoners. And one of these prisoners, he interpreted that they will become the person who pours wine for the king, meaning that he will be freed from prison. One of these two prisoners will be freed from prison, and eventually he will have a very lofty status. He will be very close to the king. He will be the individual who pours drink for the king. So Yusuf alayhi salam told this person, this prisoner, that when you are free, tell your king, tell the king about my situation, right? I am in prison unjustly. He was put in prison for no wrong that he committed. As a matter of fact, he was put in prison because he was trying to stay away from wrong. He didn't want to commit zina with the wife of the Aziz, yet because he chose not to, he was put into prison. So he said that when you go to the king, when you become close to the king, remind him or tell him of my story. Tell him about what happened to me. Anyways, the prisoner, eventually he was freed and he became very close to the king, and he forgot to mention to the king about Yusuf alayhi salam's situation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the king had had a very interesting dream. The king had a very interesting dream where he saw 7 lean cows eating 7 healthy cows, 7 fat cows, and this was very confusing to him. He saw some other things in the dream as well. And so he asked the people around him, he asked his councilmen, that does anyone of you know how to interpret dreams? What does this dream mean? This is a very interesting dream. I want to know what it means. None of them knew what it meant, and they just thought that this is, these are just random dreams that you're having. They don't have any meaning. Now remember, one of the prisoners who was with Yusuf alayhi salam in prison, he was freed, and he was the person who became the one who pours wine for the king. And at that time, he remembered that, wait a second, when I was in prison, there was a man who would be able to interpret dreams, and he actually interpreted my dream for me. So let me go to him and ask him the interpretation of your dream. So he told the king. So Allah Ta'ala says in verse number 46 that this person came to Yusuf alayhi salam. He said, Yusuf ayyuha siddiq aftina fi sab'i. He asked him that, oh Yusuf, can you interpret the dream for me? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions what happened, but eventually Yusuf alayhi salam interpreted the dream, and he interpreted that the 7 lean cows eating the 7 fat cows meant that there would be 7 years in which there was a lot of prosperity in Misr. There was a lot of prosperity. They would get a lot of crops and they would be able to harvest a lot of crops. But then after that, there would be 7 years of drought. So he advised the king that while you are in these 7 years of prosperity and you have a lot of harvest, save some of the harvest, because 7 years of drought are to come. And if you were to save if you were to save some harvest, then you will be able to pass by these years of drought without any difficulty. And as a matter of fact, people from other areas outside of Misr, they will come to you in order to seek help as well. So the king was amazed by this. He was very shocked that how does this person know this interpretation of the dream in such detail? And eventually he told Yusuf alayhi salam, and this comes in this comes in ayah number 54, that he wanted to make Yusuf alayhi salam close to him. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ أَسْتَخْلِصْهُ لِنَفْسِي. He said, bring him close to me. I will make him, I will select him for myself, meaning I will make him one of my close aides. Yusuf alayhi salam told him that, why don't you make me basically what we would call the finance minister. إِجْعَلْنِي عَلَى خَزَائِنِ الْأَرْضِ. In ayah number 55, Allah Ta'ala says that Yusuf alayhi salam told the king that, why don't you make me the person who has control over all of the treasures of the land, meaning the finance minister, because I am a hafiz, I am a protector, I am trustworthy, and I am also alim, I am knowledgeable, I know how to use these things. I know how to take care of the finance as well. So the king did so, and the king made him, Yusuf alayhi salam, the finance minister. And the Mufassirun say that eventually what ended up happening is that the king had so much trust in Yusuf alayhi salam that he actually stepped down. The king stepped down and he let Yusuf alayhi salam run the entire kingdom. So Yusuf alayhi salam basically became like the Na'ib king. He became like the substitute king. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then tells us how the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, during these years of drought, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala skips forward several years. So after some years, there was the drought, and the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they came to Misr, to modern day Egypt, in order to seek help from the king. Okay, so they came to Yusuf alayhi salam, who was now the king, in order to seek help. They did not have any money. They were running low on food. As I mentioned, there was a drought. So they came to Egypt in order to seek help. And who was in charge of Egypt? Who was in charge? It was their own brother, Yusuf alayhi salam. But they did not recognize Yusuf alayhi salam. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَعَرَفَهُمْ وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. He recognized them. Yusuf alayhi salam recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. I mean, think about it. He was a young child when they threw him into the well. And now so many years, easily 30 some years have passed by. And now they can't imagine that this same brothers of theirs, that the brother of theirs that they threw into the well, that now he is going to become, now he is the one that they are going to for help. He is basically the king. They couldn't imagine this. Nonetheless, Yusuf alayhi salam, and there are many pages in these verses are very beautiful, and inshallah what I actually plan on doing is having a set tafsir just for Surah Yusuf, inshallah, in which we can actually delve into all of the beautiful lessons that we can learn from Surah Yusuf. But I will have to skip over many of the pages for the sake of time. Yusuf alayhi salam devised a plan in which he will be able to keep one of the brothers. So Yusuf alayhi salam made a plan, and he told the brother beforehand that, don't worry, I am your brother. He told the youngest brother, Binyamin, that I am your brother, and there's going to be something that happens. Don't worry about it. He basically consoling him that I know you did not do anything wrong. But the plan was such that the youngest brother, Binyamin, was framed as if he stole from the king. And so Yusuf alayhi salam had his ministers call out that, hey, one of you stole. One of you stole. So they said, Tallahi laqad alimtum ma ji'na linufsida fil ard. This is mentioned in ayah number 73, that by Allah, we did not come to cause corruption in the earth. We are not, وَمَا كُنَّا سَارِقِينَ. We are not thieves. We did not do this. So then they said that, okay, well, if you did not steal, then what will, if we find the item that we're looking for, then what will be the punishment? What will be the recompense for that person who the item is found on? And they said that you can keep him. You can keep him. فَهُوَ جَزَاؤُهُ. Because this was part of the Sharia of Yaqub alayhi salam, their father, that if someone stole, then the person who stole would be like a slave to the person from whom he stole. So eventually they found the item in the bag of their brother, of Binyamin, right? And this was the plot of Yusuf alayhi salam. And so Yusuf alayhi salam was able to keep his brother with him. Now, fast forward again, many pages. Eventually what happened is that they found out that this was Yusuf alayhi salam, and they were amazed that, innaka la anta Yusuf, are you Yusuf? And he said, Ana Yusuf wa hada akhi. I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. Meaning Binyamin, the person who I kept with me, he is my brother. And they were absolutely amazed. They were shocked. They said, قَالُوا تَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ. They said that by Allah, Allah has preferred you over us. They realized after all of these years, they oppressed Yusuf alayhi salam when he was a young child, but now look where Yusuf alayhi salam is, and look where they are. They are coming to him to seek help because they don't have anything. So Yusuf alayhi salam eventually told them to bring their father. وَأْتُونِي بِأَهْلِكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Now, when Yusuf alayhi salam, his family came to him, and the entire family was present. Look at the dua that Allah Ta'ala mentioned Yusuf alayhi salam made. He said, وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي إِذْ أَخْرَجَنِي مِنَ السِّجْنِ. He's speaking, he's saying that Allah Ta'ala has indeed favored me when he took me out from the prison. وَجَاءَ بِكُم مِّنَ الْبَدْوِ. And he brought you out from the desert, from the barren land. مِن بَعْدِ أَن نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ إِخْوَتِي. After shaitan caused discord between me and my brothers. Look at this. This is the point that I would like to highlight today, inshallah. And if we can all ponder over this, then this is truly a very beautiful thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions. When Yusuf alayhi salam, eventually his entire family came to him, Yusuf alayhi salam did not blame his brothers or remind his brothers of what they had done previously. He didn't say that indeed my Lord has favored me after what my brothers did to me. Why? The brothers already asked for permission. They already asked for forgiveness. They already asked for forgiveness. And so now, after he forgave them, it's not proper that you mention the wrong that the person committed. You know, if your spouse does something to hurt you, or your sibling does something to hurt you, or your parent, or your child, or your friend does something to hurt you, if you forgive them, you do not keep reminding them of what they did. Oh, don't you remember what you did 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago? Don't you remember what you did? No, rather, if you forgive and you forget. And that is what Yusuf alayhi salam did. He attributed the wrong that took place between him and his brothers to shaitan. He said, after shaitan put something between my brothers and I. He didn't say after my brothers did what they did. He said after shaitan did what he did. So this is something that is truly, truly beautiful. And it's a beautiful lesson for us to learn how we are to forgive others. That when we forgive someone, we do not keep reminding them of the wrong that they did. Rather, we should try to forgive and forget completely. In the 13th juz also comes Surah Ra'd and Surah Ibrahim. Surah Ra'd and Surah Ibrahim, they are also Makki surahs, just as Surah Yusuf is. And so we find the three main themes of Makki surahs in these as well. But one of the beautiful things about the Quran is that although the same message may be repeated, right, the same three message of Tawheed, of Risala, of Akhirah, they're repeated in the Makki surahs, but every time they come, it's as if the first time you're hearing them. They're absolutely beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not just mention it the same way that He mentioned it previously. However, it's as if it's a new thing, a new message, a new way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining these beautiful lessons of Risala, of Tawheed, and of the Akhirah. In Surah Ra'd, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in ayah number 68 a beautiful principle of how one will have contentment in their lives, in their life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. The ones who believe and their hearts are content with the dhikr of Allah. أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. It is only with the dhikr of Allah that hearts find contentment. Through the dhikr of Allah, hearts find contentment. Now, this is a very important principle to understand, that there is a physical world and there is a spiritual world. And this is a very simple way of explaining it. There's a physical world and there's a spiritual world. Those things that are from the physical world, they are nourished from things from the physical world. For example, our bodies, for example, animals, cattle, plants, trees, they are physical. So they are nourished through physical means. We eat food, we drink water. Plants, they are watered, there are cultivated. You have animals, they eat, right? So they're nourished. Physical things are nourished by the physical world. Spiritual things are not nourished by the physical world. They are nourished by spiritual things. So our soul is spiritual. It's not physical. You can't pinpoint it and cut open the body and say this is where the ruh is. It is something that is spiritual. So therefore, it will not be nourished by the physical world. If a person is depressed, which is something spiritual, it's not going to be, the depression will not go away by eating more food. It won't go away by going on vacation. It's not going to be cured by these physical things. There is a spiritual aspect to it. Of course, there is a medical aspect of depression in which a person should seek counsel and get help. And sometimes medicine does help for sure. I'm not denying that at all. But we must realize that to the spiritual world, spiritual things are nourished through spiritual means. So our ruh, our soul, the only way that we will truly be content, that we will find happiness, that we will be pleased, is by remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the nourishment for the heart. the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the recitation of the Quran, the adhkar that we do throughout the day, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, muraqabah, contemplating, reflecting over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are the things that will allow our hearts to be content. Anything else that we try will not really bring contentment to our hearts. They may temporarily bring contentment, right? A person who's very sad, if they spend a lot of money, they buy a lot of things, they may be happy temporarily, but then the depression is going to kick in again. Or they may go on vacation, they'll feel happy for those couple of days that they're away from reality, but then when they come back to reality, they're going to be upset again, they're going to be sad again, they're going to be depressed again. The only way that a person truly finds cures for their spiritual illnesses, or the way that a person is content spiritually, is through spiritual means. So I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to understand this. Surah Ibrahim also comes in this surah, but because of time, we will end here, inshallah. I did want to share some verses from Surah Ibrahim. I will just share one verse, and this comes in ayah number 7 of Surah Ibrahim, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are thankful, if you are grateful, if you thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I will increase you. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. So the more that we do shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And this is a form of dhikr, and this is why it's related to what I just mentioned, so I wanted to mention it right now. The more dhikr we do, the more we thank Allah, the more we are grateful for whatever blessings we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase us. This is the formula. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us a simple formula. You want more good? Then thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more. The more you thank Allah, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you in your blessings. وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says right after that, that if you are to disbelieve, إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ, then indeed my punishment is painful. So these are some of the verses from Surah Yusuf. As I mentioned, we clearly did not do justice to Surah Yusuf. We skimmed through it very briefly, but for the purpose of time, inshallah, at a later date, we can look at Surah Yusuf in more detail. We also looked at some verses from Surah Ra'd and also Surah Ibrahim. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us from among those individuals who, when we read the Quran, we take lessons from the Quran, we learn from the Quran. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us from among those people who do the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who have contentment as a result of that. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.